then I don't know if that's one where it shows, I think that's a sign there, right?
I believe that's true. But if you look at the planting schedule, you'll see the trees and that are going to line the entire boundary along.
It looks like we have trees along delivery, along the easterly boundaries, but nothing at all on the westerly boundary, and practically nothing on the commercial street side would be my.
Correct. The westerly boundary is just, we have a 7.1 setback on the existing building. We'd like to hold that line, so it makes it very difficult to plant anything there. And on the front, as you know, the parking is very difficult to get customers in and out of there for their service. So we did remove two spaces, but we have greened that up and added at least one tree in that island right in front of 27, right next to the handicap space. We also added one on the island right in front of 29 on Commercial Street. And then we've also added a bunch of lower bushes and some grasses down there that I think are really going to make that place look great. I know it's not trees, but we have a couple.
I'm just concerned about the westerly boundary, that buffer only being 7 feet, which is completely non-conforming, even way back, and trying to maintain that same setback on the building on that side for a huge new length, actually, with nothing on that side. I mean, I'm a little concerned about that. I'd like to see, if at all possible, even with 7 feet, some kind of, I don't know, some kind of hedge, some kind of fence, some kind of planting. I don't have the information on what's on that side. Is there parking beyond the lot line on that side, or another building, or what?
You mean the building to the west?
To the west, yeah.
Yeah, I think you can see on one of these, on page 3 of 8, you can see that I think the building is about a little over 40 feet away, but it's all parking. And I believe it might be pavement or dirt. I'm not sure. I don't know if Jay can chime in on that.
It's pavement. There's a lot of pavement right up to the property line on that side. This is, by the way, Brian Yergation, for the record, professional engineer from BSC Group. Yeah, on that side of the building, there's a lot of pavement, a drive aisle serving the building that's on that side, on that property.
Has there been communication with that owner at all relevant to that construction being so close to his line, and whether he has any issue with that?
Maybe Jay, I don't know if Jay's on. I know that Jay has been in communication with that abutter.
All right. Yes, Mr. Porker that owns that property, he's well aware. He's fine with it. Like you say, he doesn't have any, his is all pavement right to our property line, which we have a chain link fence and a little landscape tie wall, which will obviously be dressed up and nicer afterwards, but he has no issue with that whatsoever.
And we just received the elevations on the new building today, so that was fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything else right now.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Dick, did you say you were completed?
Yeah, I said I'm all set.
Okay, can we pull that plan down then, please? All right, we're going to go to Mr. Kelly, please, next. Tim, you have any questions about petitioner? Your mic is off.
There we go. No, no, I do not. I like the idea. It's a nice, it's a commercial building down there. He's got a building that's going to abut that. There's a parking lot. It's going to be going right there. It's talking about where, what Dick was talking about. I don't know if any plantings would work out there because it's going to be a tight alleyway. So even if you did plant anything in there, I don't know how well they'd thrive being in between two big buildings like that. But that's about all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Neitz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the construction of the new building, do we need variances for setbacks, both front and, both are front, I guess, on Delivery Road and the other road? Isn't there another road there?
There's Delivery Road is on the south and Commercial Street on the north. But because we have a pre-existing non-conforming lot here. So we have a building at the front that's existing, that's already too close to the front and 7.1 feet from the side. We're just going to maintain that 7.1 along the side down to close to Delivery Road within 20 feet. So I don't think we need a variance there. I think it's purely a special permit.
But even for the new portion?
That's right.
That's, okay. And the building commissioner concurs?
Well, I can't speak for the building commissioner, but I believe that's what the site plan review notes were indicating, was that as long as these lots will be merged, that then it becomes a special permit because we are just expanding a pre-existing non-conforming. And
Okay,
it's not a separate lot by itself anymore.
okay, all right. That's, that was my major concern. To the west, what is the property to the west? I was down there, but I thought this was on the corner, but there is a building next door to the west?
Yes, that's an auto body.
Oh, okay, yes, Rotary Auto Body. I saw that. Okay. All right, I'm fine, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Aaron,
Yes, I visited the site yesterday and I'm rather impressed with the effort to expand this business and maintain a first-class operation within the town. The parking areas that are designated, well, there's going to be pavement between the two existing smaller buildings, but the parking areas for the rest of the property is pervious parking. You just crush stone, and the plantings are just going to enhance the buffer between their lot and the neighbor. It appears that the overall operation will become more efficient, relocating a dumpster so that it's easier to pick up and dispose of materials. The drainage issues that have been outlined with so that there be no spillover of water from this lot to Commercial Street, which has a chronic water problem, is commendable. And I really think that the site is going to really look good after all this work is done. Just a comment on the fencing on the west side. The fencing that is presently there is new fencing or new appearing fencing, and very well maintained. So between this property and his neighbor, they adhere to Robert Frost's concept of good neighbors, maintain good fences. That's all I have.
thank you, Mr. Barron. Mr. Tadafy, you want to go through the three special permits? The first being to raise and replace the building and replace it with the structure you've shown.
Well, it's not a raise and replace, it's just an extension, a brand new building,
Okay.
but yes.
Extension. All right.
And that's on the 104.3.23. And then we also have to expand the use, the L3 use, to the new structure and to 29 Commercial Street pursuant to section 202.5. So a special permit for that. And then site upgrades under 301, which would be for the parking. So again, we want to leave the parking spaces in the front. There's 4 spaces in the front. Although you do have to back out into Commercial Street. If you've been down there, you know it's not a major thoroughfare. And there's really no other place to put anything there. So we've removed at least 2 to try and get them off the street. I think that's going to be very helpful because if you've ever been to to the site and or brought your car in there, you'll see that you do park in the front, and then they are very, very quick to whisk it away into the back to get it at least off the street and out of those spaces. So they've always done a great job. I don't doubt that they're going to continue to do that. So I think that under 301, we are showing maximum feasible compliance with that. We also have parking on the side, which is there now. I think we need some relief because of the site upgrade, but I believe that that's an appropriate place for it, an appropriate use for that area, especially with some used cars being displayed out there in the Jeeps. I just think that is not even going to be noticed with the upgrades to the commercial street side of the property with the plantings. I don't think you're even going to notice. So with regard to that, I think that the special permit's appropriate in that case. And then the buffer requirements, again, the front setback or the front along Commercial Street, if there could be more trees in there that are compliant, I think that'd be great. I think that we've added 2 trees to the islands there. We have a lot of low plantings. If you've been there, even now without the trees, it looks spectacular. Jay does a good job of making sure it looks clean, neat. The flag flies high. The fencing is appropriate, and it's clean. It's not rusted. It's not broken. It works. It's just a first-class operation, and I think this might be just an area that's it's not along Route 28. It's near Route 28, but it's not on 28. I think that it's appropriate for what the use is going to be, and it also appropriate for his business. So those would be the 3 forms of relief right there for the special permits.
All right, a couple of questions about the project. I look at the plans, the engineered drawings, and I see parking spaces delineated, but then a notation that there'll be no lines for those parking spaces. How will it not become a problem? I mean, if there aren't going to be lines of some sort, and I understand why the town may not want lines there, how is a customer to know that they can't park sideways as opposed to directly in a perpendicular to the lot line?
I can take this one. Mr. Chairman, this is Brian Urgation.
Sure, hi, Brian.
Those spaces are not going to be accessed by the general public. In other words, that's only going to be Mr. Frazier's staff who takes the cars and parks them on that crushed stone area. So those are what I've called proprietary spaces. So, it's obviously in Mr. Frazier's best interest to make sure that his personnel are, aligning those cars properly when they're parking them there. So it shouldn't be a problem because the public will not be parking their cars there themselves.
Okay, the lots.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Barron.
On my site visit, I talked with Mr. Frazier, and he described the condition of the parking areas, which, as I said, is crushed stone. The area is subject to plowing in the winter, and it moves the crushed stone around. You're concerned about the spacing. There's no ability to put any lines down on the crushed stone to designate the parking areas. So I think the fact that there is a designation of a space means that that's how many vehicles can be stored on the lot.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barron. But I have a commercial building with crushed stone parking lot, and we designate every spot with a sort of 4x4 tie. So I'm just asking questions. That's all. Let me just see if I can get through them. The lots are to be combined. Is that right?
That's correct.
That being a condition of the decision would be acceptable.
Yes.
Tell me about the improvement in drainage, because each party here tonight has observed standing water there. So guarantee everybody's been down there. I mean, it's a fairly common place that you might go for a commercial reason or cutting through over to Old Main. But, you know, there's always standing water, it seems like, down there, even on a sunny day. So how is it that the new drainage, and maybe Brian can speak to this, how is the new drainage going to alleviate that problem, Brian?
Sure. So I guess the first thing I should say is, and I have also witnessed firsthand the flooding that does occur on Commercial Street.
Sure.
And most of that water is not generated from Mr. Frazier's site. It's actually generated from abutting sites. That being said, what we are doing is we're meeting the requirements of the zoning bylaws in that we are maintaining all of our runoff on site and managing it accordingly. We're going to be putting this water back into the ground, whereas right now it maybe some of it gets back into the ground, but a lot of it runs off because there are no subsurface drainage facilities presently. And so we're providing storage for up to the 100-year design storm, which exceeds the requirements of the zoning bylaws. So that's going to be a significant improvement in that respect.
You know, I don't know where it comes from. If Mr. Porker's rotary auto body is all paved over there, perhaps that's where it's come from. But maybe the town ought to jump in at some point and try to alleviate that drainage issue down there, because it really is problematic, you know. And that's a wonderful little short industrial park right there, and it works well for our town, but it's located there. We've dealt with other businesses back here in the past, and I just think it's a great place to have this little industrial park. The vehicles that are there, 3018 is still in full force effect. Do you agree with that? You want to amend the conditions on that by removing 1 and 2?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Could you repeat that?
Sure. Special permit number 3018, for which you want to amend with by removal.
Yes.
Conditions number 1 and 2. How many unregistered vehicles are being maintained there now overnight?
Maybe Mr. Frazier?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi. I wouldn't say that we have a lot of unregistered vehicles here. Obviously, we have auto sales, so we sell a small amount of vehicles. So those cars are currently unregistered. But we also do work for some used car companies. So there is times that they bring us vehicles that are unregistered. Honestly, in the back lot, not on display of our used cars, there's probably a handful of 3 to 5 cars at most that are unregistered. It's not a very large amount, but there are times where customers bring us a car that they acquired for a family member, for a son or daughter. I mean, it's impossible for me to not have cars that are unregistered at times.
I'm not being critical of it.
Minimal.
I'm sorry. I forgive me for interrupting you.
No.
I'm not necessarily being critical, but what I am wondering is, if we know this condition exists, and we know that in order for you to conduct your business, we've got to remove, and I'm addressing this to Mr. Todd, of your client's business, that we need to remove that condition. Why should we believe that any condition we impose tonight is going to be adhered to?
Well, I mean, for the very fact
this is clearly not being adhered to.
Well, for the very fact that we are expanding our business probably twofold. And to be honest, when that condition was imposed, I don't know what kind of volume they were doing at that time. But I think realistically, the way that this business has evolved, including the used cars sales, that I think we have to address it rather than just ignore it. And rather than just keep going and hope no one sees it. That's no way to run a business. That's not the way Mr. Frazier wants to run his business. So I understand you. I understand what your position is. I understand your question. If rather than remove it, if you want to increase the number, give us a number we can live with. that's fine too.
Now, frankly, I don't want to remove it. I mean, I don't want to increase the number. I think we should just plain remove it. I agree wholeheartedly. His business cannot be operated with this restriction in there, but the restriction exists. And it's kind of like, well, I've sped down this road at 75 miles an hour in a 40-mile-an-hour zone. I've never gotten a ticket until today. Why are you giving me one today? So there's a violation going on here, clearly. It's a known violation because you're seeking relief from it. I'm so sorry. I have a little dog down there. It's my wife's dog, and I'm going to go shoot it. I apologize. The issue is that if we're going to put conditions on it, you got to abide by the conditions. That is a small area, and it has to be maintained with some degree of oversight, which is usually the imposition of conditions on requested special relief, whether by special permit or variance. And so if we're going to put any kind of conditions tonight, I can't think of many, to tell you the truth. I'm only thinking of a requirement that the lots be combined and that the construction or the development of the site be consistent with the plans and representations of you tonight, instead of any particular issues. I know Dick Martin may want to talk about plantings, but we'll get to that. I just think that, it needs to be emphasized that if we're going to put conditions on that are more restrictive than what I've just suggested, they need to be abided by. Same thing with number 2 on that. I agree it should be removed. I agree I don't understand the utility of that second condition being there. Nevertheless, it's there. And people back in 1993, I guess, was it? 1993 imposed it. I don't know. I've been driving again. I used to cut through after getting my D'Angelo subs to get over to Old Main Street to get home, and was always amazed by this area and watching it develop. I mean, I think Whitten has come before us for relief, and his site is very attractive. I know that the Platinum and Rotary sites are usually very well kept and neat, and I applaud them for their business and their willingness to work in the town of Yarmouth. But having said that, I just want to reemphasize, conditions need to be abided by, and you can't come in after the fact and say, "Oh, mea culpa." With that, I'm going to ask, does anybody in our audience care to speak in favor of this petition? Excuse me. If so, please let the moderator know. As moderator, are we seeing anybody? Sandy?
I do see one, Tom Nicanello.
All right, would you please invite Mr. Nicanello in?
Thank you.
Look at Tom. Tom's screen face. You got a video you can show us there, Tom? By the way, it's always good to see you.
Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
We sure can.
Okay, well, thank you very much. My name is Tom Nicanello, and I come from the most historic village in Yarmouth, Bass River, and it's the home of the first Rotary. So thank you very much. I'm here representing the Chamber of Commerce, which is totally in favor of this project. As you know, we don't have too much commercial business left in town, and what we do have, we want to treasure. And this organization has been a staple, as I should say, it's a gold standard for what a good business should be. And these people, as Attorney Tardoff has said, has participated in all kinds of events, and they are the cog in the wheel when it comes to our business community. So we just want to let you know that we're in favor of this, and I'm sure the outcome from whatever you guys decide will work out in everyone's favor. And we are truly appreciated that the organization is going to try to take care of the water problem because, as you said, it gets kind of bad down there. So that's all I want to say. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. It's good. Again, good to hear from you, Tom. Does anybody in our audience care to speak either in favor or against this petition? If so, please raise your hand and let the moderator know.
I see no one in the audience with their hand raised.
Does anybody in the audience have any questions for the petitioner or the petitioner's representative?
I see no one in the audience.
All right, then we now close it to the public commentary on the petition. We move it to board discussions, deliberations. Oh, we're going to get to you, Mr. Means.
I just had a question rather than a comment. I wondered on a day-to-day basis, when somebody brings a car in to be serviced, do they come in to that driveway in the front, or does somebody meet them there and take the car around the block and come in the back way with it? Or is there traffic from that commercial street entrance back through, squeezing between the building to get to the back, to the other buildings? I guess there wouldn't be a building back there now anyway, but so they're going into the front building, but are they squeezing back there or are they coming in from the back?
Sure.
So, we used to have that gate open in between the two buildings.
Yeah,
But we found customers would drive out back there and actually try and pull in our service bays. So now everybody's at that glass counter. We see a car come in, we greet the customer. And I think Mr. Tardif had said something earlier is, so we take the cars, we pull them around, we use the back entrance. So that way no public goes in. And then one other thing to add with the parking out front, we're very good about valeting our cars. When our cars are completed, we pull them in and we back every car in out front. So customers are pulling onto the road. It's just, we found that's much better over the years. So
that's great.
One other thing we do, just to let you know. So
Top shelf. Thank you very much, Chair.
thank you.
All right, let's start with you, Mr. Neat. So what are your thoughts on the petition? And do you have any questions that you might like to pose?
You know, this is a business district and it's become an industrial use in a business district almost. So I think it's so convenient to the rest of the commercial part of town that it's really kind of a little cluster of businesses that do very well. And I think largely because of their accessibility from the rest of the town to that area. I'm thrilled to see a business succeed to this extent where they're building another 5,200 square foot building to accommodate the demand that they're receiving. And I think that, I've always heard good things about their business running. And I think that to look at it from the outside, it seems to have a good appearance and they're taking care of it. And obviously they're taking good care of their customers. So I have some concerns about the extension of that minimal buffer on the westerly side, but I'm taking that if an abutter was largely objectionable, he'd be in front of us tonight. And the fact that if there's no lot line there, then it's just an expansion of an existing building rather than a new building on a separate lot. I do have some concern about the gravel parking lots and the lack of lining, but if there's no public access back to those areas, I think that's mitigated as far as I'm concerned, because there's not an issue. Jay, did you have something you wanted to?
I just wanted to add to that. Like you say, that won't be to the public. But one of the things that actually works to our advantage is we have tow trucks coming in there on a regular basis with cars that are mobile. We work on some larger vehicles. We work on trailers. There's a lot of things that fit outside your general parking space. So we didn't feel that was really necessary because nobody's accessing it and it's just us. And we've been doing this for since 2003. We've been in here and like I say, we never have customers back there. So it's never been a problem. And most of that reasoning is because of the different size vehicles and things that we work on. So.
Yeah. Now, I had one other question about, I saw an elevation of the building and it looked like there were 6 bays. And I heard tonight that there were 7. Is that?
There is one bay facing Delivery Road that we wanted to use for deliveries.
Okay, I see.
For parts deliveries.
So that's the 7th bay. and then the 6 doors will be showing on the larger.
Facing
corner.
the parking area, yes.
Yeah, okay,
All right.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm done,
Thank
Mr. Chairman.
thank you.
Mr. Martin, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, a few things. The business is a great business and it's an attraction to our community, and I'm very, very happy with that. I'm a little concerned going back through the, I guess the project from 2008 was supposed to have a lot of site upgrades at that point, which apparently never took place. Matter of fact, at that point, there was supposedly there were 31 trees being planted, and I guess that never happened. Can I ask that of the petitioners or their counsel? You're muted, Paul.
Did it ever happen? Is what the question is. Is that right?
Jay, nothing in 2008, correct?
I'm not familiar with that. We did speak about putting an addition on there a long time ago, but I don't even think we ever got anywhere near that. And we changed the layout, but I know Witten Landscaping had planned on redeveloping his property next to us. I think you might be confusing us with that. I don't think we ever had anything.
I'm actually looking back at this, and this is your site design review and site plan comments from 2008. So maybe so that was more or less the same thing.
No, I think the new addition's similar to that in design, but if that's the case, yeah, we never developed any of that.
Okay, so that was planned at the time, never happened. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Dick,
and-
on that note,
Yep.
in my packet, I've got all 3 of the prior decisions
Yeah.
relating to this, and there is no 2008 decision. There is absolutely the site plan, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the building's fine. It's it's as Dick said, it was it's a business area that's become kind of industrial use, and it's actually improving. It used to be pretty bad, as you probably know. And the landscaper next door has done a lot toward that. I would like to, based on giving the relief from that large lot line with only a 7-foot setback and no plantings at all, that I think the planting should be coming to conformance along the front of the building on, suddenly forgot my streets all of a sudden. Commercial, is it?
Commercial.
Yeah. Where there's only 1 or 2 trees there now, and apparently that is buffer, and there's only the one driveway in, so there's no reason why that can't at least come as close as possible to meeting the criteria for buffer plantings in that area. That would be the only thing that I would like to see added. Otherwise, I'm comfortable with the proposal.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, your thoughts?
I've seen the business firsthand, and I see how it would be kind of impossible to not have the registered vehicles on the property. I think that we definitely address that and should lose that regulation, and as well as the parking, the way he does his business and runs it back there, the way he addressed that. I've seen us all working, so I agree, and I think that should go away as well. I think it's a nice plan. I'm in favor of it. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Barron?
Yes, I fully support the relaxation of the special permit 3018. And the other special permits that are being sought do make sense for the property and for the conduct of this business. That's all I have.
Thank you. When we talk about appearance, I think about what is on Route 28 directly in front of this, one of the most unsightly strip malls and abandoned buildings at D'Angelo's Sub Shop. And then I go back to a commercial zone and find that it has been beautified to a much larger extent than I'm ever going to anticipate Route 28 being beautified, at least in my lifetime. So I do agree with Mr. Martin that there should be some additional trees over in that area. And Brian, is there a reason why that can't occur?
There is. The main reason is because there's existing parking spaces in front of the building that back right up onto Commercial Street. So there's really no place to put it.
Look,
We
so
want-
those aren't shown on this plan I'm looking at?
I'm
The plan
sorry,
Plan
Dick,
you
could you
wanna
say
see.
that again?
The plan I'm looking at doesn't show any spaces backing up to Commercial Street at this point. If there are spaces there and they want to retain those spaces, they should be shown.
I don't know what plan you're looking at. They're definitely shown on the plans,
I'm looking
Um,
at
Can we-
PSD.
can we-
numbered, shown.
Can we bring the plan up?
I think what you might be referring to is our used vehicle display area.
Mm, Well, I'm looking at something which is the only one I came across in the, for recent, which is layout and materials plan is what it says.
So let me start with the existing conditions plan. Show you this area. So these right here are 1, 2, 3, 4 existing spaces. Then we have some striped aisles in between them. This right here is an island containing a fire hydrant, a flagpole, and then some shrubs. Then there's some more existing spaces here. And then all throughout here, it's all vehicle display, both in this area labeled Bitconk, and then in this area here as well, with a fence behind it. This is the white stockade fence that you see.
So what were the spaces that were in front that were being removed?
So we're
Sure.
reconfiguring this, and we're removing 2 of the spaces that are in front of building 27, Dick.
Yeah.
The reason we're doing that, and let me jump ahead now to the layout plan, is so that we can get a driveway between here and park the cars in between the buildings on the property instead of parking them, hanging out onto the right of way.
But I'm having a problem with everything going to the east here where it's, where I would say it looks like it's a buffer, but you're telling me that's parking.
Correct. It's parking now. You can see the one handicap space here. There's another space here.
Yeah.
There's actually a space that's right here. That's parallel to Commercial Street. It's completely off-site. So, that's going to go away as well. And the vehicle display, which is here, is proposed to remain. And we proposed some switchgrass plantings all across in front of the vehicle display area just to enhance it. It already does look pretty nice, but it's going to look better because there'll be more plantings. So the only places that we really had to plant trees, 3-inch caliber trees, are as Mr. Tarnoff described previously, one in front of 27, one in front of 29, and then one here at the corner is also on the roadway. But
And also the setback on Delivery Road for the new building there is only 20 feet. Is that because you already have a reduced setback on Commercial Street? I'm wondering why that's 20 feet instead of 30 feet.
But can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we already have a pre-existing non-conforming property, and the structure that it's attached to is already within the front setback on commercial. So this is another front setback. And in order to maximize the space in that building to get those 7 bays, we do need to have that extra piece, because if we make it compliant with 30 feet, I might be wrong about this, but I think we lose spaces, bays 6 and 7 off of this building. Because then we come back 10 feet.
So you can humor me. Do you need relief for that as well or not?
We
No.
don't.
You
No,
don't
we
because
just need to
it's
start-
already too close on the other street. It doesn't apply to this street.
That's right, because it's all going to be one lot, and we're connected and attaching and extending the existing building that already has a nonconformity.
Wow. All right. I will say that I'm not going to be comfortable with the proposal unless there's more greenery and planting on the Commercial Street side anyways. I can probably live with the rest of it and the lack of buffer and a large new building going in just because it is a good business and we love to see good businesses, but other properties in this area have done a lot of upgrading and I think more can be done there. I don't think it's great to be having parking spaces and cars pulling directly into Commercial Street. If we're ever going to have the opportunity to improve this property in terms of its buffers and access relevant to parking and coming in and out off a Commercial Street directly as opposed to through a curb cut and into a parking lot, this is the time to do it. And I'm not going to be comfortable giving that relief.
May I butt into my question, Barry? If I can go back to it, I think I started this dialogue. Keep this up if you would, please. You've shown us where you're going to be planting some grasses. It looks like it's off premises.
No, so let me show you the clusters where we're proposing them. 3 along the side of this handicap space. And let me also say, if you wouldn't, the other reason that's important to keep this parking in front, Dick, is because the entrances to the buildings, which they're already there, are on Commercial Street. These are the closest parking spaces to those, and that's why those need to be the handicap spaces.
Those 2 spaces there that are off the street and handicapped, and because of their closeness, I can probably live with those, but not across the whole frontage. So
it's the same thing over here, a handicap space for building 29. And then this is the vehicle display area, which,
I just think it's time that whole front buffer should be improved, and you could have another curb cut. I wouldn't mind another curb cut coming into that other gravel parking area. And you could have your handicap spaces very close to the front on that building, and then the front can be dressed up the way it should be. I don't like to be problematic, but I really, really do not like people pulling in and out of parking spaces directly into the road. That's planning 101 from 30 years ago, and it doesn't play well with me now.
Mr. DeYoung, if I could just get back to you, you are correct. So we had the 3 areas here with grass plantings, 2 here in front of the fire hydrant and flagpole. And then we did have some proposed here, which are off-site, but they happen to be in an area that has plantings in it now in crushed stone.
But it's not on property, So we can't enforce anything if we ask for greater screening there. And I appreciate why you don't necessarily want tall screening, because after all, you're trying to sell those cars. But you pointed to us there and said, "Oh, we're going to add some plantings to this location," and said we're going to put some plantings in there. And frankly, I don't know how that representation flies with us. Let's go back to Dick's comment about not necessarily another curb cut over on maintaining one on Commercial Street, but just drawing those parking spots at least there back a little, because you are right, there are actually plantings on the ground as we sit here tonight and talk about it, along with the vehicles for sale are parked. But if you take these 4 spaces that are going to continue to exist and you bring them back, just draw them back a little, 2, 3, 4, 5 feet, exactly where you're talking about adding these plantings on the west side and on the north side of the property. If you can bring those there. If you brought those 2 spaces back, you still have plenty of room, don't you?
No, so there's the concrete walkway in front of the building for access. So that's needed to access the main entrance to the building. That's why there's that space there. Because believe me, we looked at that.
Well, what is the problem with reconfiguring those 2 spots to drain into the property as opposed to go out on a Commercial Street? I mean, they could be twisted, they could be turned, right? I wish I had the point of it. They could be turned and still have additional room on Commercial Street. You could eliminate those 2 spots, at least being free flowing into Commercial Street. Yeah, do you see what I'm talking about?
You're saying to realign the spaces,
make them
so they're
perpendicular.
parallel. right? You're saying basically rotating them 90 degrees.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you'd lose a space because with the handicap space, you need the 8-foot wide drive aisle so that it's van accessible as well. So you'd have.
Oh, I don't have a
eight-
scale. You have a scale, I'm sure. Why don't we figure out what that distance is? And can it be a
22.
turning those?
Well, you can do it, but you're gonna lose one space. You can have one handicap space with the van accessible aisle. But not a second space.
And where's the other space, Tisha? Would you show us the other 2 spaces that will remain?
Sure, so there's one space here.
Yeah.
Let me blow it up for you a little bit more. So there's one space here, a handicap space. There's another space right here. You can
Yeah.
see that little rectangle is the wheel stop.
Okay.
And then there's one space here with an existing one and then an existing handicap space here, which we're proposing to keep those and keep these 2. But there were previously more spaces here, but because we're putting in a 24-foot wide driveway, we lost some spaces as well. So we're putting this driveway in, we're removing some of the spaces that are on Commercial Street and having them park in here. So basically we took 2 spaces that were here and brought them into the site, making it more compliant.
Well, you've got 35 parking spots proposed, right?
35 or 36, I don't recall the number, yes.
So if we eliminated 4, the business couldn't survive on 32? It's a lot of parking on this site. And again, I think it's a wonderful business being very well run, but you know, this is this gentleman, Mr. Frazier, who does a great job.
The
How the hell do we know
requirement
this?
is for 35 spaces.
Okay, if we eliminated 4, you're down to 31. What's that? What's the issue there?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think the biggest issue is the management of the business. When someone brings their car in, they go to the front desk with that car and then leave it to be taken for work. And if there are no spaces in the front, it's going to make that very difficult for these people to know where to go. And if they're going to do that interior space, there's 2 spaces in there only. Then, you know, we're adding 7 bays for work, and we're not going to have enough space to put these vehicles when they pull in for their work to be done on their vehicles.
Can we go bring the plan down a little, please? Yeah, I guess it's up. I apologize. So let's go to where the 2 spaces that were face Commercial Street are now being brought into the property. And what's that I'm looking at there? That the structure to the south, it's like an island coming out.
This?
No, that's circle
No, right next to the 2 parking spaces you're bringing into the
just
property.
south of number 2.
Oh, this.
Yes, right there. Yeah. What is that?
Yeah, so that's just an island, and so that there can be some pervious area here, so that it's not all going to be crushed stone or paved. This was actually going to be a pervious area which will be mulched. We can't put an additional space here because what you have here is we need the maneuvering space in front of these bays right here. So, but if we couldn't, by putting a parking space here, we would lose the ability to maneuver larger vehicles in and out of the building right here because there's bays right here.
You mean something larger than a personal automobile?
Correct.
Well, I mean, I'd love to find a way to accommodate Dick's concerns because frankly, I share them. That if there's any time to act, the time to act is now.
And so,
you know, we're not going to act after the fact because, you know, we've got 2 conditions that haven't been adhered to from for quite a while. So, you know, I think now's the time to act and I don't know how you're going to do it, but I kind of join in with Dick Martin on this one. So
I might add, one of the things that I really need everyone to, I mean, I'd like everyone to take consideration too is employee parking. We have 16 employees, and that takes up a great deal of some of the parking as well. So I just, and you know, unfortunately, sometimes we can't handle, we're waiting for parts, and we're on Cape Cod. We don't have a ton of sources for parts, and sometimes it takes days to be able to get parts for customers' cars to be able to deliver them back to them. And there's definitely some challenges with parking. And honestly, I've been working on this for over 2 years of really trying, and we've gone back and forth. You can ask Brian and whatnot. We've gone so many different ways trying to find the best use of the property to try and keep the business afloat, and try and accommodate it however possible. So I wanted to say that we put a lot of time and effort into trying to make this work as well as possible.
I don't doubt that for a second, but, and you know, I never thought about employee parking as well. I was just thinking about vehicles for sale and vehicles that were customers with only 6 days in operation. I never gave a thought to 16 employees, yeah. And
We
they're all
also have loaner cars for customers as well to make it more convenient because we're not a dealer. So those take up space. Granted, we're usually swapping them with the customers, but there is some challenges here on the inside, inner workings of it all as well. So
taking away 4 spaces would be very detrimental to the operation, what I'm hearing. All right, well, those are the only questions I had. I think we've gone through everybody. I think it's time to talk about making motions if we're going to make them, and putting on conditions as may be suggested. So let's go to, if we could, the simplest one concerning the amendment to 3018 and incorporating into that the 4 lots will be merged. Or incorporate that into one of the new special permits. I don't care. I just don't want to lose track of the merger of the 4 lots. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yeah.
I think if he doesn't merge, then he's got an issue with the variance that he'd need for the westerly border, the westerly sideline. So he's not gonna get a building permit unless he merges those lots.
Well, I don't know why we can't just say it then.
Yeah, well, I think we should say it.
Okay, so
I
those
think
are
it
the
should
only
say-
2 things
He's not gonna get a building permit if he doesn't have a variance on that westerly side, if those lots are not merged.
So I think it's really simple to just add them as a condition to the grant of
Same
any
thing.
one of the 3 special permits. I'm hoping that someone will consider that when they make the motion, along with that the entire project be built according to the representations tonight and as well the plans submitted. So anybody prepared to make a motion on any one of the 4 items of relief that are needed before we get to what we're going to do with variance withdrawals? So we have 3. Let's save the amendment to 3018 till the end, I guess. We have 3. One is to allow for the expansion of a non-conforming use. Is anybody prepared to make a motion on that special permit request?
I'd move to approve that.
Who did, please? Mr. Martin. All right,
Dick needs
Second.
you second? Dick, did you second? All right. So
Yeah, I did.
First special. I know you're taking notes, but let's make sure we both have them. Special permit, move, Mr. Martin. Second, Mr. Neitz. On that, vote for special, on that special permit, does the board care to have any further conversation before moving it along to a vote? Hearing none. Mr. Neitz?
Aye.
Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Barron?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
And Mr. DeYoung, aye. That by roll call vote passes 5-1, approving that requested special permit. We then have a next special permit, which you can go ahead and describe, Mr. Tatis, please.
Yep, it's a special permit pursuant to section 104.3.23 for the expansion of the building over 27 commercial, and I believe that's 20 Delivery Road.
Okay, anybody prepared to make a motion on that special permit as articulated by Mr. Todd?
I'll make that motion, but is it there that we need to mention the merging of the lots?
Well, I was going to consider that. We can do it right now. That's a very good idea, but we're going to come up to some degree of controversy in the next one. So let's do that here.
Okay.
That a condition of
Include that
that
in
be,
the motion.
so, okay, a condition of that would be the merger of 4 lots.
Second on that motion.
Well, has someone made that motion?
I did.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Barron. Thank you, Mr. Neitz. So does the board care to have any discussion on that motion made and seconded before proceeding to a vote? Seeing none. Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Neitz?
Aye.
Mr. Kiley?
Aye.
Mr. Barron?
Aye.
Mr. DeYoung says aye. That therefore carries 5-0 on a roll call vote. Please make a note of the individuals making an aye vote in the decision. I think that's important under this, the governor's ruling here.
Yes.
Can't wait for COVID to be over. So the third one is the interesting one that's going to have some discussion here. And that is allowing for the site upgrades as represented by the plans and inclusive of the change in parking and the like. So, one of the things that's going to have to happen is, I think, an appeasement, frankly, of what are we going to do about my first thought, rather, let me restate that. My first thought was that we would need to come to some kind of an appeasement or agreement to placate both Mr. Martin's and my concerns. But it was so poignantly said by Mr. Frazier when he said, 16 employees, half of the parking lot's taken up by employees, a few more stationary vehicles being offered for sale that will move in and out as people buy them. And that leaves an awful few parking spots for the operation of this business, because as Mr. Frazier pointed out, some of these vehicles will sit there for a period of time without any action being done, because perhaps they need parts that aren't there. So, I agree with Mr. Neitz wholeheartedly that it'd be nice to see if you guys, if Mr. Neitz perhaps can come up with a solution. I'm gung-ho to approve. I agree with it, but I'm just not seeing it. So, anybody prepared to make a motion on the third? I want you to articulate specifically for our record, what is the third special permit? Mr. Taddev?
I'm sorry about that, Mr. Chairman.
No problem.
So the third special permit, as you indicated, would be pursuant to the zoning bylaw section 301 with regard to the parking, the buffers, and the upgrades, as we've talked about tonight. And it seems like the only point of contention would be the greening of that commercial street buffer.
Okay, well, yeah, the only way to find out if it's how it's gonna play out is to have somebody perhaps make a motion, unless Dick would like to chime in on something.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to, what was the number on that one?
Well, it's just number 3, special permit.
To approve that request, subject to the removal of parking spaces, both in what would normally be the buffer and within the street layout, for that matter, of Commercial Street, as shown, and that area should meet present day requirements for buffer planting. My reasoning, if anybody wants that, is this is a large addition, and yeah, it's a great business, and yes, we want to see it thrive, and yes, there's a lot of employees, but that needs to be taken into account with the whole thought process here. And if you got 16 employees and you want so many bays to make it all work, I understand that. But again, it should come into conformance as much as possible with the bylaw. We're already giving a huge amount of relief to that westerly boundary. And the fact that the new building, just because of the lots coming together, doesn't have a proper setback from delivery road either. I think that the front of the buildings should come in compliance, and there's room. They could redo that so that the 4 handicap spaces are all in that same area by the westerly curb cut. And I wouldn't even mind an easterly curb cut with spaces that are close to the other building, as long as the rest of the front buffer zone becomes conforming. I don't agree and cannot agree to having cars backing in and out of the road. Not to mention how it looks. I mean, the building looks good for what it is right now, and this is going to actually make parts of it look better. But the most important part, the front, should look decent, and it's not the way it's planned right here now.
Well, as the board members will note, I never make a second or make a motion. So is somebody prepared to second this motion? I see no member prepared to second the motion. So therefore, we can't even move it along to a vote. Is anyone else prepared to make a motion in connection with this third request for special permit?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion for approval of that third segment as proposed by the petitioner. And I gotta say, these are pre-existing spots that are actually, one is being taken away from him already by virtue of the operations and making that driveway in from Commercial Street. And I think to take away more parking where the customer is coming is a tremendous hardship for this business, whether it's the existing business or the expanded business. And I just, this is not a high profile area that people see like they would on Route 28 or on Station Avenue or in other more populated neighborhoods. This is it's kind of tucked away in it. And it is looking, a lot better than it did, but it's still kind of established itself as a more industrial area rather than a typical business with buffer zones all around it. And I think you're really putting the business at a tremendous hardship by taking away those parking spaces in front, which are more than parking spaces where people come and stay to go in and get a haircut or something. This is just where they're turning them over because the staff is taking the car to the back parking lot right away. And Mr. Fraser had mentioned that, the customers are not backing out their cars onto Commercial Street when they're leaving because the staff is trained to back them into the spots so that the people can leave straight out and not have to be concerned with any traffic on Commercial Street without restricted vision. So I firmly believe that for the sake of the business, but also for the sake of the 16 employees that are working there and thriving in that operation, I think it would be a tremendous hardship to restrict the parking.
Second, I'll second Mr. Neat's proposal.
Again, as customary, does anybody on the board care to have any discussion on the motion made by Mr. Neats and seconded by Mr. Barron to approve a special permit consistent with the petitioner's request? Hearing none. Mr. Neats.
Yes, aye.
Mr. Martin.
Nay.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Mr. Barron.
Aye.
And Mr. DeYoung says aye. So that carries on a 4-1 roll call vote. And I want very specifically in any draft decision that Mr. Neat's motion was made and with the particularities of which he asked for, please. That brings us to the last item on this agenda for this petitioner, mercifully. And that would be amendment to special permit number 3018. That is, that there be a removal of the conditions that there are no unregistered motor vehicles be stored within the yard. That is to say, outside the building overnight. And then no more, I think they meant that no more than 4 other vehicles be parked on the site outside the building overnight at any one time. Clearly, that's not going to fly with this operation. Is anybody prepared to make a motion concerning the withdrawal of those 2 conditions from decision 3018 by amendment?
I would move that, Mr. Chairman, simply because the age in which that those conditions were imposed was a different time and place, and one has to be realistic about where we go from here.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I do. Aye.
Mr.
Kelly.
Kelly? Board care to have any discussion on that motion so made and seconded before moving it along to a vote? Hearing none. Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Barron?
Aye.
Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Neitz?
Aye.
Mr. DeYoung says aye. That therefore carries on a 5-0 roll call vote. Again, please note the roll call votes. Now that brings us to the issue of the request for variances and the alternative. As alternative forms of relief, and do you have anything you want to say about that, Mr. Potato?
Yeah, based on the vote and based on the explanation from Mr. Grills, the building commissioner, at this point will withdraw the relief for any variance without prejudice, please.
Is there anybody prepared to make a motion to allow the withdrawal of the request for the variances without prejudice? Excuse me.
So moved.
Mr. Martin, please. Somebody get in too fast. Do a second. Mr. Martin? Okay.
No, I did, Mr. Chairman. Dick Nates.
Either way,
Who did? Who did?
you can have
It
it.
was, I just didn't see. It was Dick Neath. That's fine. All right. That motion made and seconded to again remove conditions 1 and 2 from decision 3018. Does the board care to have any discussion before moving along to a vote? Hearing none. Mr. Neitz?
Aye.
Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Barron?
Aye.
Mr. DeYoung, aye. That therefore carries on a 5-0 roll call vote. Thank you very much. Good to see you. I'll look forward to the draft decision.
Thank you very much.
All right, so that brings us to our next petition. That is 4885, that of Richard M. Quirk Jr., who is seeking relief in connection with property located at 67 Balsam Way, Yarmouthport, Massachusetts, in which he's seeking a special permit. I'm sorry, that property is located in R40 zoning district. And tonight our applicant is seeking a special permit under section 407 of our bylaw to allow for a family-related apartment. Hello, sir.
Good evening.
Why don't you tell us about your request?
We are looking to put an addition on for my mother-in-law. It's a small apartment, 22 by 26 off in our existing house.
Okay. Let's start with Mr. Martin. Mr. Martin, do you have any questions about the petition?
No, I don't think so. It's a big lot, and it appears that the planned addition for the in-law meets all the requirements for an in-law. And looks like a nice addition to a pretty house.
Who did I lose here? Mr. Neitz. Reconfigured you, I'm sorry. Any questions? Your mic is off, Dick. You're on mute.
Holding a plan, and I didn't want you to hear all that noise that I was making. I don't see anything that would prevent us from doing it. It seems to comply to the family-related apartments bylaw, and I think that certainly there's enough room there, and I'd certainly vote in favor.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kelly?
No, I think it's a nice looking project. It's well designed, well laid out. I like it. It's got a big lot, so I'm fine with it.
Okay, and Mr. Barron?
I only had a question on the mudroom. It's being used as a common access to both existing and new apartment. Am I correct on that?
Yes,
In terms of security, where will there be a doorway between the new and the existing that can be secured with a lockdown of?
yeah, the doorway that's attached to the mudroom going into the new addition will have a locked door on it.
So the mudroom will still be able to access the existing house, and the other doorway would be locked.
Yes.
Okay. I have no further question.
Well, you know, I agree with, I think it was Mr. Neitz who said it's just a lovely addition to a pretty home. The only a comment that I would make is to you, Mr. Quirk, that you understand that you need to affirm the affidavit that the apartment was being occupied by a family-related member, and that's an ongoing condition. We don't necessarily make it a condition of our decision here tonight, but the town will follow up on that annually. Okay, your understanding of that, right?
Yeah.
And that as if and when there be no family member living there, you'd have to come before us for relief before you could in any way let that out to any third party.
It'll be a master bedroom at that point. When we
already
have
got
to worry about that, it's going to become a master bedroom.
I already have your iPad done it.
Yeah, yes.
Does anybody in our audience care to speak in either favor or opposition to petition number 4885? If so, please raise your hand so that we can ask you into the discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I see no hands raised.
All right. Does anybody in our audience have any questions about the petition?
No hands are raised.
So therefore, we close it to the public discussion and input to the petition. We open it up to board discussion and deliberation. Is anybody prepared just to make a motion? All right. We couldn't hear you, only because your mic is on.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the petition as presented. And I have to say, it's probably one of the easiest decisions we've made on this board, particularly for a family-related apartment.
That's true. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that and agree.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martin. We have a motion quite simply to approve the grant of special permit without condition, made by Mr. Neitz, seconded by Mr. Martin. Does the board care to have any discussion on that motion before proceeding to a vote? And seeing none, we now move it to a roll call. Mr. Neitz?
Aye.
Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Barron?
Aye.
And so Mr. DeYoung says aye. That carries on a 5-0 roll call vote, sir. I will draft a decision. I can assure you it will be done within at least 2 weeks. I'll try to do it as quickly as possible. That decision, once filed with our town clerk's office, must then await a 20-day period. That's a technical waiting period, and should some abutter or interested party decide to appeal, I don't think any of us anticipate that, so good luck. That decision will then need to be brought to the Barnstable Registry of Deeds and recorded with proof that you've recorded it being returned to the board. Okay?
Excellent. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Pleasure doing business.
Hopefully his mother-in-law won't appeal.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, thank you. Petition 4886 of Anthony and Laura DeCipio. That property that we're concerned about this evening is 47 Franklin Street Extension in West Yarmouth. That property being located in an R25 zoning district. And our applicant seeks a variance under 203.5 of our bylaws for shed encroaching into the setback. Good evening. Why don't you tell us all about your petition? You need to turn your mic on. There you go. Hello.
How are you? Anthony DeCipio, 47 Franklin Street Extension. We're just looking for some relief on a misplaced shed corner is encroaching on the property line.
Okay.
On one side.
On the property line?
Well, the shed is supposed to be 6 feet off the property line, and it's 5 foot 2 inches on one corner, and then the back.
The shed is completely contained within your lot, right?
Oh, of course, yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see, Mr. Barron, any questions about petitioner?
Yeah, one question. Was the shed constructed on the lot, or was it like one of the prefabs that can be brought in from elsewhere?
It was constructed on the lot.
On the lot.
Yep.
Then I have no further questions. I would support the motion.
Mr. Kelly?
Personally, that would drive me crazy having that not be particularly square with the driveway, and I'd move it. But I wouldn't go through the hassle if he didn't want to. So I'm in favor of it.
Thank you.
Mr. Martin?
Bother me too.
Mr. Martin?
It's a very minor request, and all the neighbors seem to be for it, and I don't see that it's anything that should not be granted.
All right, and Mr. Meeks? The mic is off.
There,
Thank
I'm sorry. I just had a question, when the building permit was issued and it said that the zoning permit for the shed was subject to zoning setbacks, why wouldn't somebody, the builder or the owner, be more careful that it was compliant with the setbacks?
I completely own that. When I pulled the corner off the string, it was a complete screw up on my end.
Did you construct it yourself, or was there a builder involved?
Yep.
Which, yeah.
I constructed it. Yep.
You constructed it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I was pulling off the string, because we had the property line strings going from corner to corner, I don't know. Again, I was on the other side. I'm like 6'8", and on this one, I ended up encroaching. It twisted. I don't know how I twisted it. It's just completely.
And is it indeed crooked to the driveway?
It's kind of kicked, a few inches, like 5-6 inches, because that's how off it was.
And you don't have any problem living with that?
I do, but it's one of those battles that it took a while.
It's not going to be grounds for a divorce or anything?
No.
Not this year.
Dick, stop trying to get me business, please.
Okay, no, I'm just wondering.
All right, listen, is it, when you built it, did you have some tie downs to the ground?
Exactly, right.
Okay, and so in order to move this, you'd have to significantly dismantle the building to get to those tie downs to move it.
Because it's a slab on grade shed,
Yeah.
so it's not like floating.
All right, so you bolted the main,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, with anchors.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, if it were a delivered prefab shed, I think there'd be no question in our minds that we'd want it moved to be in compliance.
Absolutely.
But under the circumstances, I think that I, for one, am willing to cut them a little slack and approve the variance for that 10-inch differential, and I would so move.
All right, Mr. Neitz moves up. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Kelly seconds.
Did we call for any public?
Oh, gee, I'm so sorry. Yes. Oh, thank you, Mr. Martin, for keeping me on my toes. Does anybody it's getting late.
Yeah.
Does anybody in our audience care to speak either in favor or in opposition to this petition? If so, please raise your hand so our moderator can see you and invite you in.
There's no one in the audience, Steve?
Does well, I got to just ask the next one, even though I know it's a ridiculous question. Does anybody in our audience care to ask any questions of either the petitioner or the board before moving it along to a vote?
There's no one in the audience.
All right. The motions, will you reaffirm your motion there, Mr. Needs to agree?
I would move to grant the petition as proposed.
Without condition.
Allowing for the 10-inch discrepancy with the, is it the rear line setback?
All right, Mr. Kelly, are you in the position to second that motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next time, don't use a string, use a
Yeah.
ruler. That might be helpful,
Yeah, right.
They're
Thank you.
not that expensive, and if you can't find it, one, come over to my house. I've only got about 20 lying around.
I'm kicking around. Tell me
Yeah.
about it. I gotta learn how to read it first.
I built my own shed, and I'll tell you, it's a labor of love.
It is truly. But
So-
it's worth it. It's worth it.
Does the board care to have any discussion before moving along to a vote? And seeing none, all those in favor, Mr. Neitz, your vote?
Aye.
Mr. Barron,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
and Mr. DeYoung says, aye, sir, I will draft a decision. As you heard before, it should be done with no later than 2 weeks. You're not in any particular hurry, so I'll get to you when I can.
That's fine. No rush.
The decision, once filed with the town clerk, requires a 20-day waiting period before you can record the special permit down at the Registry of Deeds in Barnstable, presuming that no one appeals from our decision, which I don't think they're going to do. And so once that's recorded, you'll then return the proof of recordation, okay?
Okay. Thank you very much.
And your wife spoke very eloquently this evening about this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see
Thank
you
you.
both.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Take
No
care.
proceedings.
All right, thank you. And
Thank
with
you.
that,
Have a good night.
thank you. You too.
Sure.
Anybody prepared to move to adjourn? And I've heard that. And so there's a second. And thank
So
you.
moved.
Mr. Barron, Mr. Martin, you seconded, right? And so now on that, let's move by roll call. Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Mr. Barron,
Aye.
and Mr. Needs.
Aye.
Mr. DeYoung says aye, but I just want to say thank you guys for hanging in. It's wonderful. We need every one of you. And Mr. Kelly, you've been stepping up like nobody. And
you.
thank you for that. Keep doing it, okay?
That's enjoyable. I like it. Thank you.
All right. Goodbye to all. Have a nice evening. Please, and
Bye.
thank you.
Good night.
Take care, Steve. Good night, all.
Good night, everyone.